kind of a weird matchup where, like, I think this could easily look like it is a World's Finals match, or one where it's a tough game for both of them, just because it's a strange one.
It's definitely going to be interesting. I'll be honest, you say you remember Sir Titan as a Pokemon. Just remember, when you're friends with Joe Brown and a Pokemon has Slush Rush, you hear about it way more than you may be anticipating. I certainly heard some propaganda about that one, being able to completely dominate the meta game. But how it gets executed is going to be absolutely huge here. The trainers are in Team Select, so they're trying to maneuver this situation, and the leads, I think, are going to be really important here. Obviously, I want to talk about it again. You know, can Jeudy get away with the Palafin technique? And if he does, when does he wiggle in the Pelipper? Which, you know, Gavin called it out in his interview. He said, you know, I think it's the best bird available. It's a bold claim. I'm not sure if I agree with it 100%, but it does seem to have the numbers to back it up right now.
Yeah, I mean, it seems very likely we'll see it. I mean, even if we don't see the Palafin, I mean, like, maybe it will have a good matchup. I mean, there's a lot of water resist on this team, but I feel like it's tough not to bring your speed control, well, one of your speed control options, and crucially a Pokemon that has, you know, the weather effect against the team that is based around a weather effect, right? Where, you know, conceding the weather war is tough.
It's nice to see a weather war, though, that isn't sun versus rain. It's nice to get a little bit of variety as we do head into this game. Round 9, two fantastic players, and the leads take the field. It's going to be Salamence and Golden Go for Jeudy Azzarelli, and then for James Evans, he's going with the Taurus and the Rotom Heat.
Yeah, I mean, two Pokemon with the Intimidate ability that I think maybe going into the year people weren't expecting to be the most common, but it's great to see them out here. And then, you know, Rotom actually looking like he's got a pretty good matchup here.
Yep.
You know, Goldengo, a great Pokemon to have it as your mirror here, and then you know, Salamence. This is a version that's probably going to threaten the Rotom a little bit more. It's a very 2013-ish looking matchup between a very offensive special Salamence and a very offensive special Rotom.
Yeah, this definitely looks like a previous year, but I'm okay with that. I don't really have an issue with it. Got some tough choices. I see James is definitely in and out those menus as the clock ticks down. So it needs to lock into something as soon as possible. But one of the skills here is making sure you get the perfect choice. Taurus opening the turn with the Raging Bull. Not very effective, but it is going to get a little bit of damage down. The Salamence retaliates with a Draco Meteor right into the Rotom, clinging on with just 2 health. That Rotom is dangerously low. The Rotom, though, is going to be able to survive this turn as the nasty plot comes through for the Goldengo. And what's really cool here, and kind of the advantage of open team sheet, right, is you're giving a special attack boost to the Taurus with that Mirror Herb. So a useless boost for it to pick up as Rotom bounces out with the Volt Switch. The Salamence is low, but not as low as that Rotom.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good play there for Jeudy, where I mean, he burned the Mirror Herb, not quite the Defiant trick that we saw in the past, but he does get to nasty plot in the face of Heat Rotom and get away with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a bold choice, and you know, certainly both players considered the option, but getting away with that's a big deal. Goldengo is a great matchup with most of this team, where I think one of the main reasons we have not seen a lot of the snow is that, you know, it just gets absolutely obliterated by Make It Rain if you're not playing it careful. I think it's likely that he's going to have to, at some point, terastallize one of those 2 Pokemon. Otherwise, he needs to get rid of Goldengo pretty quickly, and, you know, kind of wasting that first chance. You know, I don't know how many more he's going to get. And
there, of course, is the terastallization is going to be a big factor here. Being able to get away from that Make It Rain damage is absolutely huge, and then go for a big attack that could get the knockout. So the Salamence did, of course, lower its special attack in the last turn. That's not really the threat, and I think it's going to be doubling up onto this Goldengo for James Evans. That said, it's got to do it this turn, as the annoying little Amoonguss with its Rage Powder has come out. There is terastallization starting out. Confirmation, of course, something Jeudy is aware of, but it is a water type on the Titan, so being able to, you know, not get as hurt by the Make It Rain, absolutely huge there.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of changing things up here too, right? There's suddenly a bunch of water Pokemon against the Rain team.
Yep, it's going to be the Raging Bull into the Goldengo, and then, of course, the Titan taking a lot of damage, not great on its special defense, but it follows up with a Liquidation into the Goldengo. That's not going to be enough for the knockout, though. I think maybe expecting more out of the Raging Bull to really help things out there, and now the the leftovers, sorry, coming through at the end of that turn.
Yeah, a very defensive set here. Sort of interesting, too. I mean, you got to keep in mind, that was a boosted attack that, say, Titan took. So, I mean, pretty sturdy Pokemon, right? I mean, that's not bad. I mean, it's still a 2-hit KO, which is bad here because only one away now, and Mungus there is going to make it difficult to bring down this Golden Go.
Yeah, that is going to be a big turn. So a nice bit of board positioning from Jeudy over there, being able to get this into the right spot. I mean, the Titan doesn't have its Slush Rush active right now, and I think that's going to be something that, well, once you get past the Amoonguss, of course, then you need that. And I think being able to maybe activate that could help out, but I do see this Golden Go being able to maybe command the game, even without, the type advantage that it may prefer.
I mean, we see a sneaky play getting a Bomb Stone here. I mean, if you can get rid of the Amoonguss, kind of regardless what happens with Golden Go, that would be a big swing, and here's a chance.
Yeah, well, it is the Ice Spinner heading from the Titan into the Amoonguss. It is not going to be enough for the knockout, though, so just not able to push it all the way there. The Amoonguss seems to be getting its health back with a Citrus Berry tucked behind that new hat of the Titan. Is it a hat? We can discuss that offline. But of course, the Titan going right back to sleep with the Spore. I think Jeudy putting himself in a fantastic position at the end of this game. He's still got that nasty plot. He got away with that turn, got out at the end of it, and he's got a pretty healthy Amoonguss after that Ice Spinner, which he's not going to be able to land the next turn. Yeah,
it's sort of an awkward spot where, like, Bomb Stone. This one, as most do, holding that Focus Sash, so it's going to get to do something here. But, like, I feel like, both the Pokemon on Jeudy's side, I feel like kind of done the job already. Amoonguss going to get out, get some heal here, basically be full health when it comes back in. And, well, there'll be no Aurora Veil going up, that's for sure.
Yeah, no Aurora Veil as Pelipper comes in with the Drizzle ability. So Bomb Snow does have to be smart, and I think that's a very wise decision to just protect yourself there and see if you can get some wake-ups.
So Make It Rain coming down here, and even though this is resisted, it's going to do a pretty good chunk of damage, nearly knocking out this Ignite.
Yeah, the help of that earlier nasty plot coming through and kind of making up for that special attack drop that, of course, is landing on this turn. So Titan still asleep and doesn't have access to Slush Rush right now, so not looking too pacey either. Golden Go being able to heal up a little bit with its leftovers, certainly a different set than we've seen, but it looks like it's going to be a tough one for the Snow. Right into the menu to see how quickly this one can get swung back. Of course, I really think if you're James, it's time to wake up now and see if you can get through this. But it's not even going to get the opportunity to. It is, of course, just going to get felled by that Make It Rain. And the Snow fought incredibly low, down to the Focus Sash to be precise.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a tough matchup, right, where he's lost control of the speed now. So he's not really getting anything done, attacking a few times, but, almost all of that damage has been erased by the held items on the opposing team.
Yeah, the Pelipper going for the Hurricane. Of course, it's got the rain, it's got the accuracy, and it's definitely got the damage to do one and be able to knock out the Snow. So both the ice pairing taken out in the same turn, and Jeudy absolutely commanding this game, I think it's fair to say. It is going to be James back to his original lead of the Rotom Heat and the Taurus. But we've seen how much that Rotom has taken damage-wise. The Taurus, yeah,
healthy, I mean, but it's got a long way to go.
Yeah,
we saw last turn that Jeudy was able to do the massive 1 damage. Perhaps this time we'll see if he can do the slightly more devastating 2 hit points of damage necessary to pick up this knockout. It's just been a really impressive game on Jeudy's side, where I think this is sort of it's the dark side of Halo, right? Where kind of the reason why people don't play a whole lot of it is that it's just so easy for the game to fall apart because you don't have a lot of great control, and the Pokemon have such weak defensive typing.
Yep. Well, it is going to be time to Terra over on to Jeudy's side of the field. It's going to be the Pelipper. That's something I wasn't quite expecting to see, but it's going to reveal, of course, its Grass Terra type. That's going to be able to hit really hard into that Taurus and be able to potentially stretch for a little bit more. It's also going to help out against this Raging Bull. Not able to land a super effective hit. Golden Go should be able to do it. Yeah, it's going to be able to get that Rotom very, very easily. No shock there. And of course, the Pelipper now going to be able to potentially, see how much it can do. The Hurricane is still going to be there, and yeah, that's an easy knockout. You were querying if it would do 2. It did 1, it did 2, and it did 151, getting a 1-hit knockout over on to that Taurus. So a very clean, very commanding game from Jeudy Azzarelli there.
Yeah, Pelipper continuing to take names on stream. I think we all apologize for underestimating you, Pelipper, and please just tone it down a little bit. We'd like to get some closer games on stream. I think this is a tough one. I mean, James is certainly a player capable of coming back here, but like I would say, that really didn't work, right?
Yeah.
Like it's some larger changes probably going to be needed here. The 2 Pokemon we didn't see in that first game were Hydreigon and Gothitelle. Gothitelle, so sort of an interesting Pokemon this matchup, right? Where it doesn't have a fantastic matchup with anything really, but you know, it does at least stop the shuffling. You know, it could be a means of getting control of the weather and that sort of thing.
It's certainly an interesting one as well, looking at a Palafin, right? Like being able to say, you know, can you do your shuffle? Changes that one up, so I'm kind of shocked it wasn't bought. I mean, obviously we didn't see the Palafin during that game, so not the end of the world there. We saw everything but the Palafin, the King Gambit. So I mean, I really do think Jeudy has even more in the locker to be able to play through this one. And what I think is interesting here is he going to be able to make a change or read into the changes that we're going to get out of James, right? Because James, I think, is forced to go back to the drawing board. There's no doubt in my mind that this one is a tough one, and I really didn't like the snow pairing. I was about to say the hail pairing, but the snow pairing there. I just didn't think it did enough for my liking, so either he has to bring it differently or leave it at home and play with the other 4.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'd know, right? But I'd be curious if, you know, that Draco Meteor at the beginning of the game was a roll or not, because yeah, if you don't always survive that Draco Meteor, I think Rotom just becomes very difficult to pick. I mean, it's always difficult to pick against this many water type Pokemon. I think a fun element of the matchup is like, I think it's pretty, I mean, I'm sure Jeudy will pick it next game and prove it wrong, but it's really tough to pick Palafin in this team where there are 3 water resists to start with. Another Pokemon is capable of gaining the water resist, and then also there's the Gothitelle Shadow Tag problem where it's a very bold choice. So to an extent, you know, kind of forcing Jeudy into using the other 5 Pokemon. Just the drawback is that the matchup with the other 5 Pokemon doesn't seem like it's that good.
I mean, I've accepted that we're not getting it this game. I'm at peace with it, and as much as I am a big fan of the Pokemon, I will accept that it's probably not the right way to go. But, you know, it is what it is. I mean, we got one good showing out of it today, but the trainers have been locking in. I mean, in that menu as well as we head back down to the field to see what is coming out. Golden Go Salamence once again for Jeudy, and the change, Hydreigon and Rotom for James Evans. Salamence Intimidate is going to be completely useless here against 2 well-known special attackers, but you know, it could save it for later.
So 2 things to consider here. One is we've somehow gotten even more 2013 here, where normally one of the weaknesses of Hydreigon is it's slightly slower than Salamence, but this one will not be. It is holding that Choice Scarf item. So it's actually the Draco Meteor being threatened the other direction. Certainly works a little different than it did a decade ago, because you know any Pokemon could choose to Terastallize and flip the weaknesses. The other thing to keep in mind for that first game is that, you know, if Rotom had just used Overheat in the first turn, game 1 goes really differently. So, you know, he could try that this time. I think it's pretty unlikely that Jeudy's just going to call that bet again. But man, it would be awesome if he did. You know, I don't think you're going to do it.
I think a number of things can happen in this turn that swing the game in either people's favor, and I'll be curious to see who decides to lock in what. It is going to be James going for the Terastallization here. It is going to be his Hydreigon. We do get to know that that is the Fire type, a fantastic Chandelier on the head there for the Hydreigon, but maybe mixing things up a little bit. The Salamence does decide to protect. Hydreigon does have access to some fire moves as well, so being able to capitalize on those would be huge. But yeah, Jeudy knows the matchup potentially was really bad for him here, so a double protect seems to be the play. Hydreigon goes with the Snarl, not going to connect that one. I'd be curious to see where the Rotom decides to throw down, giving up a bit of information of the ideal turn for James, and then Jeudy can respond in kind. The Volt Switch not going to connect on this one. The Golden Go just protects, and we're back at kind of a stalemate, plus a Terra type has been revealed, or used.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal, though, because these are both Pokemon holding choice items on James' side of the field, so he's now been forced to reveal what both these Pokemon are locked into. I think, fortunately for him, it's a very conservative play, right? I think he picked an option here where there's not a whole lot that Jeudy can do to, like, immediately punish him, where, you know, Snarl, Volt Switch, you know, pivot how you want to. Like, Jeudy can't get a whole lot out of this. He could try to go for the cheeky, nasty plot again, though he's actually going to take a decent amount of damage to do it and only wind up 1 level of special attack up if he does.
Well, it is going to be the change, or the Terra to Steel for Golden Go. Wants to make those Make It Rains really, really punishing with a lot more damage, and maybe trying to do that without spending the turn for the nasty plot as well. So Hydreigon will Snarl. It's a good chunk of damage on either side, but not really as threatening as usual. But most importantly, bringing down special attacks on 2 special attackers. Really important for being able to take those hits. Golden Go does just go for it. Weaves in the nasty plot, so making up, of course, for that Snarl damage right away. Just wants to be in a great position when it does finally decide to make it rain. Golden Go takes a lot of damage from that Volt Switch. As Rotom goes back to James, he's able to pivot around a little bit. So certainly a lot more work to do. We can see he has bought the Snow Duo and hopefully it will work out a little bit better for him. With the focus on the Golden Go early, I think it's going to give him a lot more wiggle room to do that.
Yeah, I kind of think that the way he played this is pretty interesting in that regard. The tailwind going up on Jeudy's side of the field is a big deal. Because, yeah, I mean, when we were looking at the moves that James chose to lock into, it was like, oh, well, maybe it's not that big of a deal kind of no matter what happens here because you can't get that punished. You still are facing down a boosted, if less boosted, Golden Go and tailwind now. Salamence, one level of reduced special attack, but still going to hit pretty hard if it chooses to swing once. I think we'll likely see it exit battle relatively quickly here. But it's like on James' side, he's still going to kind of like figure stuff out here, where Terastallization's been used. Hydreigon's like sort of threatening here, though it's not. Since it's locked into Snarl, it's not like it can just choose to knock out either of these Pokemon. It's got to just whittle them down. A big hit from Golden Go would still be a big deal. However, yeah, I mean, if you take a big swing with Golden Go now, you're going to end up losing it pretty quickly here, which would still be good for those Hail Pokemon. But the problem would be here, if you play too defensively, try to switch around too much. I mean, those leftovers healed a lot of damage in the first game. I think healing items in general, both in that first game and kind of a whole tournament, has been like a huge swing. So James is going to deal with this pretty quickly, even though he's got the speed disadvantage because of Tailwind going up.
Yeah, the Salamence does leave the field, and out comes the best bird in the game, allegedly. Pelipper setting up the rain, so maybe trying to make some calls about how things are going to get played out with the weather. So Titan leaves the field and is swapped out for the Rotom. So that Rotom is going to be feeling real good, staring down a Pelipper, which it can, of course, hit with one of those electric-type attacks and easily fell it. The Golden Go does protect itself, so it doesn't want to take another Snarl for its troubles, as Snarl will go into the protect, and obviously it's just trying to wear these Pokemon down. Pelipper takes one for its troubles as well, and already its special attacks are going to start to be a little more underwhelming.
Yeah, I think it's a big deal. It's a unconventional strategy to have the two Fire-type Pokemon out against the Rain Setter. Normally you're trying to do the opposite of that, but it will be tough for Pelipper to actually get any knockouts here. I mean, he has the speed advantage, so it could get one big swing pretty easily. But yeah, I mean, reduce special attack there. Golden Go really needs to cause a knockout to get picked up before it can start getting targeted, or it's going to go down easily. At some point in the game too, you can look to bring the Abomasnow in. If you can, these are probably the two biggest threats to it in the game. So if it can come out after these two get knocked out, who knows? Maybe it can make something happen this time.
Let's see what there is going to be. This Pelipper throws out the Wide Guard, so making sure that Snarl is now not able to cause any problems, as Golden Go does just fire off that Shadow Ball. It is going to go towards the Hydreigon, and a critical hit brings it down into the red, but it's just not enough, as this Snarl is blocked, of course, by Wide Guard. It's a spread move, and it's not able to do any damage. So a really nice move choice there on the Pelipper, and something, of course, James knows about in this format, as Rotom will go with the Volt Switch, and it will get the knockout on Golden Go. So a lot of time invested in this Golden Go, trying to keep it around, trying to get it set up, and honestly, it's just not done enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's actually pretty great for James. And even the critical hit on Hydreigon's not that big of a deal. I mean, kind of at this point, especially with it facing down Wide Guard, it being knocked out would not be the worst thing in the world, right? Yeah. Where you kind of need to get rid of it. It's done its job, right? It helped Saul at the beginning of the game. He's in a much more favorable situation this time. I'm kind of impressed that he's stuck to using the same 4 Pokemon and has caused a much better board state. Actually, without changing the way he was targeting Golden Go. It's basically the same plan as the first game, just executing it a little bit better. And now we have, Pelipper is out on the field, but, the wrong weather is active. This is, once again, this is a Pelipper that does not have that Focus Sash item. It is the Damp Rock that we saw previously as well on the other Palafin team. This is a pretty good looking spot for James all of a sudden. We still have a healthy Titan in the back this time, who's quickly going to join the front lines here and rescue Hydreigon from snarling into some more Wide Guards, perhaps.
I also think that Hydreigon could be just able to close out the game, right? Is once you get rid of something that sets up the Tailwind, once you have the speed advantage once again with your Choice Scarf, yeah, just being able to take a knockout and wrap it up means that tiny little bit of health is really important. Yeah. Just being able to deal with that is helpful.
And speaking of that type of help, keep in mind this is snow and not hail, right? In the old days, Hydreigon would have just been knocked out by the hail from Abomasnow here, but no more damaging effect, which is very helpful in this situation.
Yeah, that change really helping out James in this one. As Pelipper, throws out another Wide Guard. This Wide Guard could kind of get punished a little bit quickly if, depending on what the choice is from the Abomasnow. The Abomasnow does get, or the Titan, sorry, avoids the Hurricane. There's no way to deal with it there. But the wide guard is going to protect from this Blizzard. So both trainers getting absolutely nothing out of that turn, apart from a little bit of board positioning, and Tailwind finally ends. So this Slush Rush is going to be very impactful.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree that you get nothing out of that one. I think that was a very good call.
Yeah.
Like, all right, well, you have to wide guard. If you don't, I get great positioning, and yeah, it's you can't come back from that.
Yeah, no knockouts, and being able to come in and just ice spinner for the knockout is really big there. And yeah, they didn't get the knockouts, but James got the board position that he needed to be able to, really push this one all the way. So we're going to game 3 here between two fantastic trainers. We've seen two great executions of their teams. Like, both sides have shown something really good. I really like the way that James played that actually with the Snarl. Looking down the teams, you think, okay, he's not bringing Palafin, so what does he have to bring? We know he wants to bring Palapa. Okay, that's fine. That's a special attacker. He really likes the Salamence, special attacker. I see a theme now, and I think that Snarl was way more impactful than we gave it credit for.
Yeah, I think it made a lot of sense. I mean, the only swap he ended up making, was moving that Hydreigon over Tauros. I know it's basically the same strategy, right? Just chose a different fast Pokemon. Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. Great defensive typing against most of the Pokemon on Jeudy's side. Crucially, being quicker than both of the Tailwind Pokemon, neither of whom had that Focus Sash that we so often see from speed control Pokemon, making things more difficult. I think that very first game, James kind of didn't do enough to make things difficult for Jeudy, and he's just kind of too good of a player not to throw off his game a little bit more like that. I do think that the showdown between Rotom and Golden Go has been so fun, where I think that because there's two ends of it, right? Where even if James does call that an overheat, well, now you're locked in with overheat and reduced special attack against a team that has rain, which is very punishable. So it's not like he's just, there's a reason why he's not going for this, right? It's not quite as attractive as it looks. I don't know. This matchup is super fun. Like, both the players are both so good, and then it's such a weirdly complicated matchup where taking knockouts can be really detrimental if it hurts your board position. It just I was kind of wondering if this is going to feel very early format or very late format, and it feels late format to me, where it's like they're both kind of leaving things on the board that they know are not right to take, and I don't. It's a very mature feeling game, I guess.
I'd say this is a kind of controversial thing. I think it's an early format team being played with a late format maturity.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
This is definitely I really wanted this idea to work. And speaking of ideas that are going to work, Palafin has made an appearance. Scott, I'm sorry, I'm very excited again. Yeah,
I think you should be. I think it's an interesting adjustment, right? We kind of mentioned before the second game that it's really tough to pick Palafin in this game for the threat of Gothitelle. Though once again, we're not going to see it, and two Pokemon who naturally resist water have been picked every game, and another one who frequently has been transforming into it. So, it's tough to get too much done. It's worth noting, this Palfin's a little bit different than the one that we saw in the previous match. It does have that Mystic Water to increase its water type damage, but instead of having the Water Terra type, this is Grass, which, not ideal against Ice type Pokemon, but could potentially help out if, it wants to dish out the damage with some Grass type attacks.
Yep, well, it is going to be a switcheroo nice and early, getting that Titan in for James, as it's going to be the Salamence with the Terra on this one. Going with the Steel here, something that a lot of people have been leaning on, of course, for the defensive prowess against opposing dragons, and knowing about the Choice Scarf, knowing that you may be suffering there. This is a huge terror for Jeudy, being able to take that so easily, and now Hydreigon's special attack is really, really low. That means Palafin's got room to flip turn, something we didn't see in the previous one where it was just manually switching out with Gavin, but it goes into the back, so it was a 0. We'll see what it looks like later. I've got an idea, and it rhymes. That is going to be the Golden Go coming in, though, and this is a really good position for the Golden Go, right? The Hydreigon can't really threaten it down as much. Speaking of Hydreigon, it's not going to threaten it at all, as it is just knocked out by the Salamence.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, a lot of good adjustments on Jody's side. It's a very dangerous-looking Palafin in the back. I should correct myself. It could have become a Grass type. It has only Water type attacks. So yeah, there was no option of going that route. But I think what he did makes so much more sense, right? We kind of hinted at it at the beginning of the previous game, where that matchup between the Dragon types is much more complicated than it would have been in past years, because you make the wrong read, you can get got. I think Jody's made really, really good reads the first turn or two of every game so far, where he's kind of always started off this little advantage. It's allowed him to be very cheeky with Golden Go, and in the previous 2 games, Golden Go was so important to his team. So hey, why not add a second Steel type Pokemon and make him deal with that?
Yeah, but this Steel typing could come back to hurt though, as the Rotom has re-entered the field. It was switched out for the Titan, but of course, as you mentioned, the overheat only goes once, really. It's a one and done without the switch, and that switch can then get punished a little later on. Looks like there's going to be some kind of quick fight back from James here in this one, trying to get the damage down. But he's taking a lot of time. Something I've noticed about James is, yeah, he does kind of go the distance when it comes to the move timer here. So definitely taking his time on this one. We'll see how he goes through it. As Rotom leaves the field, that means Slush Rush is going to be active, and speed control is going to be a big thing. But once again, this terror from the Salamence is absolutely huge. You know, going to the Steel type, got to feel pretty good when you're facing down this combination. That said, there is an answer to it. It's the Titan Superpower.
Yeah, there's a second Steel-type Pokemon there. That's a big knockout, but what cost did this come at?
Yeah, that is going to be an interesting matchup to see what this Golden Go does back. So Salamence removed from play. Both the Dragons on these teams are gone. Golden Go, though, firing off the Shadow Ball. That'll be landing into that Abomasnow that's just come in, bringing it down to about well over half, a good little chunk over half as well. But Jeudy gets to send in the Palafin. It's hero form now. It's gone back and come to the fore once again, ready to cause some problems. And the big thing here is, you know, can he get the supportive Pokemon in? Is it time for Pelipper?
Yeah, this is a very tricky turn from Jeudy's side of the field where I think it's very easy to lose the game here. We've seen how important Golden Go is in this matchup, and a Make It Rain would be like devastating if it hit undefended here. However, it's also usually very important against Palafin team to focus on the Palafin. Yep. Those are two huge threats all at the same time. I think the way that Jeudy picked his roster for this game is really impressive, right? We've got Steel-type Salamence who, James kind of had to commit to knock out, even though it already had 2 levels of reduced special attack, and then now 2 massive threats on the other side of the field. Just a really intimidating roster from Jeudy's side to try to face down with James's team.
It's definitely going to be a tough decision as James decides it's time for his terrestrialization. It is going to be the Abomasnow, and it is going to become a water type. So really, wanting to be able to take those hits nicely. I think both of these Pokemon becoming water types, sorry, the Titan and the Abomasnow, just show the respect to some of the problems. Ice Spinner from Titan will go into the Golden Go, so trying to call maybe that switch in is going to be a big one, as Palafin's Flip Turn does a good chunk of damage onto the Titan and switches it back out. So this could be a massive turn here. See what he's got as the final Pokemon in the back. It's not going to be the Pelipper. That was, I think, what he was expecting to see, or the Amoonguss. But, being able to get that Amoonguss in safely is huge. And yeah, the Make It Rain you were mentioning, Scott, is going to do a lot of damage. It's going to knock out the Titan, and the Abomasnow only saved by its terrestrialization.
Yeah, still getting worn down pretty big. And this is still, oh no.
Oh no. Dear. That is not what we wanted to see from James, as he kind of, I think, called the switch entirely wrong there, thinking that it was going to be the Golden Go for Amoonguss. He goes Ice Spinner there, and then he just gets to Energy Ball the Palafin. Problem, the Palafin has left.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it's a great mind game, right? It's like, he's finally got the Palafin in. He's going to want to keep swinging with it, but not what happens there. I kind of mentioned, it's a turn where it's very easy for James to lose the game, and unfortunately for him, I think it seems like that's what happened. Jeudy just has a huge lead now, and while Rotom was the one that's the most important Pokemon in this matchup now, it just has so much ground to make up. Yeah,
there's a lot of work for it to do, and it's going to, at some point, have to face down a Palafin, most likely, if it wants to sweep through this game. The Rage Powder comes through from the Amoonguss. That is going to be pretty helpful at keeping this Golden Go safe. We may not even need to see the Palafin. As the Abomasnow doesn't get knocked out by that Shadow Ball, that could be really important, as the Thunderbolt goes towards the Amoonguss, and Abomasnow continues with the Blizzard. So Amoonguss is getting dropped in this turn, and the Golden Go takes a little bit of damage. I think if you knock out the Abomasnow there, you completely lock up the game, but that is not going to be the case.
Still some down here. You can see those leftovers keep ticking away where, man, it just seems like Golden Go, for such an offensively oriented Pokemon, has healed a ton during this set. And yeah, now it's, again, this very intimidating combination where both these Pokemon need to be knocked out right now.
Yes, but they also, need to be knocked out before they get to attack.
Yeah, the problem with that is I don't think the speed lines up that way.
No, not with Jet Punch either. That is a massive concern. I mean, there's no boosts, but it's still the hero form Palafin, which is absolutely huge. So Palafin, just knowing its speed, going to Wave Crash into the Rotom, easy knockout right there. We know the Golden Go goes before this Abomasnow and can wrap it up. But honestly, it's been so good to see the recoil coming through. This has been a fantastic game from Jeudy, making that hard pivot into a different strategy as Abomasnow is felled. And we got to see 2 really interesting, really unique strategies At the end of the day, this Palafin really running the show like Dan Marino, the best dolphin out there. I learned your sport, Scott.
He's acclimating so well. Yeah, it's rich showing by Palafin to games. I thought that was a great set. It's like very strange looking game just because it was such a strange team matchup. But it's easy where there was so many like high tension turns that either the match could have turned or it did turn. I felt like Jeudy was able to lead the games in such a way that like he kind of had the more commanding position, and then just he played so well in the beginning of the games it made things really tough. I was pretty impressed that James even managed to take back that middle game the way he did, where to me it just seemed tough. Where the snow is an archetype, kind of like I imagine most rounds are kind of uphill, and you did see especially the one time Abomasnow actually got to use Blizzard, right? I mean, he did a ton of damage, but it's just so tough to get in that position.
Yeah, I think the Snow team is in a tough position right now. Just looking at the metagame, the amount of Golden Go that we've seen, it's really hard to justify bringing that. And yes, you can turn into a water type to defend yourself a little bit, but only one Pokemon can do that. So you have to choose, do you give up the Titan, do you give up the Abomasnow? I think giving up the Titan is the hardest bit, but the Abomasnow, it tried. It got the knockout on the Amoonguss, but it didn't threaten the Golden Go at all, and I think that's where that game kind of fell apart right there at the end. Obviously, Palafin got to come in and wave crash a Rotom, which felt pretty good, I'd argue.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting check, too, where, I thought that end of Jeudy's team was super interesting, where, it's like the Palafin doesn't feel like as core, like, actually, it doesn't feel, it is drastically less core to the strategy than the Palafin and Gavin's team, where, like, it's just Palafin, the team. But I think the way it played into this team was pretty cool, right? Where, like, even though it wasn't, like, the major focus at the set, by the time it came out, it was adding so much extra pressure.